messaging, it's hard sometimes if I send 2 paragraphs about what's going on, and then the other 5 teachers or 6 teachers that got that kid sends 2 paragraphs. Mm-hmm. As a parent who just got home from a 9-hour shift or a 16-hour shift, I don't have time to read a book, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I got to go to sleep so I can get up in the morning and do my job again, because that's how it was when I worked for the state. When I worked for the state, it was 8 hours today. You get mandated 16. You got to get back up and go to school, go to work with 6 hours of sleep and work again. Then you got to work again and again and again. And a lot of times you lose track of, like, oh man, I gotta look at my kid's power school. Because right then and there, you're mentally just prepared to survive long enough to get to your day off so that you can rejuvenate yourself. So when I'm speaking from a parent and professional perspective, I'm not speaking from a perspective of where I'm on top of the pedestal and I'm looking down. Because I understand that. I was lucky enough to have a wife and have grandparents, my parents and her parents still alive, still physically active to be able to take care of some of the things that I couldn't take care of. But in the meetings, in my IEPs, and in my like in our meetings for my daughter's math deficiency, for my son's disabilities, I remember sitting there and talking to my wife and going, could you imagine if you didn't have the education we had and the understanding of how the school system works, and you're trying to figure out what's going on with your kid, and the school system doesn't have enough personnel to respond specifically to your child's needs? Like, I knew how to ask certain questions and certain verbiage that an educator would understand, because my mom was an educator, my dad was an educator. My dad was a special ed teacher, my mom was a math teacher. My wife and I, have education beyond, high school. I worked in a psych facility, have a psych degree, so I understood this, how to talk about the issues, what type of classroom management styles. I had all that. How many parents have that? Even parents that are nurses, right? Parents that are this, that. They might have educations too, but they might not have an understanding of how the school system,
educational system works. Yeah.
And the only way you're going to get to understand that is by engaging in the schools. And that's the thing. You got to teach yourself. Unfortunately, sometimes people aren't going to hand you the answer to every question that you have. But the more you show up, the more you're engaged, the more you go to school, you have a relationship now with teachers and administrators. So if something happens to your son or daughter, you can ask specific questions that you normally wouldn't have the time to ask because you know them. I know you have a short temperament, Mr. P. Why did you flip out on my son today in class? Well, because he was cussing, throwing stuff at people on his phone, hasn't done his last 6 assignments, and I sent you 2 parent squares and I left a voicemail. I'm so sorry. I've been busy. Yeah. It's understandable. But this time, how many days in a row can you deal with this before you kick a kid out of the class? Right? So the idea that I have a relationship with a parent like that, I can tell them, listen, I gave them 6 days. Some kids I may only give 2, but I understand
your situation.
So I'm not, you just moved to your third apartment in 1 year, right? That transition for kids sucks. How do I know that? Because look at my nephew. My nephew lived at his grandparents, at his mom's, and at my parents' house with his dad. So every week it's like, where is he? I don't know. Where's Waldo? Like, you know what I'm saying? If he forgot his Chromebook, it's completely understanding he forgot his Chromebook because he lives in 3 different houses. Sometimes kids just forget. It's not, remember during basketball when we took him down? He was in high school. He forgot his jersey because he was at his mom's house and he was staying over his dad's so that we can go to Virginia. And I'm mad at him, but at the same time, I'm mad at him. I'm like, you should know better because you've grown. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, like all that transition, man. You trying to pack underwear. You're not trying to think like
exactly
because you just assume I have it.
I have it in this one location where I'm packing from.
So I feel like. As people listen to this, we're going to continue to talk about this over the course of the podcast. And, we know it's a short amount, and it may sound like complaining. It's not complaining. Here's what you can do. Let's give them some specifics that they can do to alleviate some of the stresses. Respond to a teacher or an administrator when they call or email. Listen, introduce yourself before a teacher even gets a chance to.
That's one thing me and my wife always took pride in every year. And I'm not talking about just regular parent-teachers conferences. No. We call the school up. When are you available? We want to come in so you can see the faces behind the names. So you can know who's this kid's parents are, to show that we are engaged in his education. Anything that goes wrong, like you said, building that relationship with them.
The strongest thing that I have as a teacher is growing up in the community I serve. And I look at a child and I go, I know your daddy. I know your mom. Like, just tell them Big Country said what's up. And then they come back the next day and they're like, I can't act up in your class. Why? Oh, because my dad told me don't play with you.
Or even the short time that I've been out here, even with the generation of kids I'm dealing with at the club and everything, you was like shocked when you first started working here. That's this nephew, that's that person, this, that, and other thing. And I'm like, I know your uncle, I know your nephew. No, you don't. Go home, come back. Yo, they were right. You do know that.
Yeah, I know, because I said it to one little kid, AW, and then he came back, he was like, what's up, Big Country? I'm like, yeah. He's like, my dad told me not to just to listen to you.
But that's a benefit. Or even when I hear parents of kids that I've coached and their grandkids are coming through the club now. Yeah. And it gives me great comfort feeling to know that if Barry's there, you're in good hands. Don't act up.
So here's the thing. Introduce yourself to the teacher. Understand that, because the teacher, when they put a face to the person who raises their student, they're gonna have a different understanding. I'm not saying you get preferential treatment, because that's not the case. But we have a different understanding. There's kids that I teach that I find out, I'll go through a thing and find out, this kid lives with his grandparents. So I have to understand differently with that kid, because obviously there's a dynamic that's going on that I don't know about, but I know the dynamic that was going on with my nephew when he was living with his grandparents, right? Or I see like certain kids can't be picked up by certain parents, right? And it's like, okay, so when I talk about certain things in the classroom and I bring up things about my kids, and as a father hanging out with my kids and what a father should look like, I have to make sure I say it in a way that's not alienating those students who may not have a father. Sometimes students will. I have some students that'll make fun of themselves, like I would. Like, man, my father left. I don't even know. We don't have a good relationship, but that's okay, because you know what? I have a relationship with my dad, and that's not normal, even when I was in school, right? But I have friends that are successful that have no dads. So it's not the end. And when you know what's missing in your life, you don't want to give that to the kids when you have them, right? And so there's those teachable moments. So the idea is, parents, if you are engaged with your kid's school and you are engaged in your child's education, it's more likely that they're going to be successful.
And we're not talking about, okay, you have to just go all out, because we understand that certain life situations you can't, all right? But one thing I always tell my son, all right, because he's away at school, typical 19, 20-year-old, don't know how to call home unless he wants something and everything, but he's always busy. So what I always tell him this, and it goes back to me basically almost insulting his intelligence. I'm like, dude, there's 100 and something hours in every week. You trying to tell me you can't find 5 minutes? Yeah. Parents, it's the same thing. Yeah. Sometimes it takes 5 minutes. Sometimes it just takes maybe respond to an email, or maybe sometimes just introducing yourself through that email or whatever it may be. At least the teacher knows, okay, this parent is on board.
Listen, talk to me in the language that you talk. Don't talk to me in the language that you think I need to hear, because I just want to hear. As a teacher, I don't need you to, Mr. P, thank you very much for this. I don't need that formal nonsense. Like, if that's what you want to do, great. Like, but if you say, okay, thank you. I know you got it and you read it, and I'm okay with that, because I'm like, okay, I'm busy. There are emails I get as a parent that I don't respond to, and I'm a teacher too. I get it. Like, this is where I'm trying to explain to people. I'm not coming from just I'm a teacher, I'm yelling at parents. It's not a parent thing. I'm just telling you what benefits you, and it benefits you and your child. That's what it does. It doesn't as a teacher, it benefits me indirectly, because we build that relationship. And now, if I have to call home over something serious, it's going to be taken more serious because you know me.
Exactly.
I'm not just going to call home because, like, little Johnny just doesn't want to do his work on him, or he put his head down and went to sleep on a Monday. If he puts his head down and goes to sleep 7 days a week, 7 days in a row, then I'm going to have to call home and be like, is there something going on? Because it's serious. And maybe that parent didn't know, because they're working 24/7.
Exactly.
And now I can share information with how your child is doing that you probably didn't have time to even know.
And we're not just talking about kids that are struggling and things like that.
No, this is for every child. Every single child. I'm going to give you a
classic example, because I remember one year when we went to parent-teachers conference when my son was in high school, and one of the teachers looked at us like, why are you here? It was like, because we want you to meet us face to face to know this is our kid.
Same thing with my wife and I, with my kid, like with Isaiah, you know.
Exactly. He's like, he's not a trouble kid. He's doing well in my class. Why are you here? Because we want to meet the teacher that's teaching our kid. That's the first thing. And as a parent, to me, you have a duty to know the person that's instilling life lessons and values into your kid.
And you know what's crazy is I didn't even think about that parent-wise, but as a teacher, my biggest frustration is when the parent that has an A student comes in, and I understand that now because I did the same thing. I just thought that was normal. But I think what frustrates me is the kid that's struggling really badly, and the parent doesn't show up. And here's why I say that. Here's why I say that, and then we got to end it because I want to make sure we stay under that 45-minute thing. Parents, there's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Nope.
There's nothing, like, you can tell your child you're embarrassed by their behavior or their grades or stuff, but there's nothing to be embarrassed about touching base with the school, because all we care about is maybe there's something I'm doing wrong as a teacher because your son or daughter needs something specific and I'm not delivering it, and you share that with me. It will unlock something that wasn't there, and it shouldn't take until parent-teacher conferences 8 weeks into the school year to do that. It shouldn't, but life.
Or just not that, too. Sometimes, as parents, we get so ashamed of our own deficiencies or things like that. And we've had podcasts before when we said seek out the help and things like that. You never know. You meeting your child's teacher could put you on to different resources that may be able to help you. They have a well of information that sometimes we just got to tap into it.
And sometimes it's okay for your son or daughter to be struggling because they have ADHD or they have autism or they have anxiety. And for a teacher to be like, it's okay that your child is struggling with that. It's okay. Like I'm a parent of children. I have that similar situation in my own home. What worked for me was not making excuses over it. It may not work for you, but if I can give you some information that I got, if I could tell you, listen, therapy worked well, or medication and therapy were like the perfect storm, because then once that my child calmed down or I calmed down, right, then all those skills that we worked on during stressful situations were able to be learned, so that in the future, when their child's 18 or 19, they're not going to get stressed out because they have those skills. You don't realize, and I tell this to the kids at school, you don't realize who your teachers are and what we struggle with because you just assume we're a teacher.
Yep.
Right? That's our life. Yeah. Nah.
Yep.
Now, I come from a plethora of backgrounds of people that have issues in my family that have served time.
I mean, I even get that experience when I'm sitting in my mentoring sessions with the kids, and they look at me and they're like, I would never thought that you went through something like that. Why can't you relate to me? And I was like, just because I'm an adult and I made it this far doesn't mean I haven't sat exactly where you are right now.
Dude, the stupidity that these kids show, we paved the road for. We did, because, it's the parents and grandparents of those kids that created this environment that we're living in right now. So the idea is we got to stop making excuses for everything we can't do and do the things we can do. And that means we can control our responses. We can control who we build relationships with. We can control how our children respond and act in certain environments by setting a standard that maybe wasn't set for you. And it's okay. Be the trailblazer.
Yep.
Be the end of the cycle in your family.
Yep.
Right?
Break the generational curses, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So this is not a dump on a parent fest, because we're both parents, we're both fathers.
You both been there.
We both been there. We both struggled. As a teacher, I told you, there's times where my child will, an email from their teacher will come, and I'll be like, I don't got time to respond to this. I got to grade papers. I got to do my own schoolwork. Listen, as a teacher, I'm a teacher. I have 3 children. I'm a husband. I work tutoring the kindergartners with 5th graders at the boys club. I'm finishing up my master's program, and I'm a coach. Name me 5. Give me where in the course of my week do I have time? But I make it. If a parent emails me, I will respond. If a parent tries to touch base with me, I will respond, because it's not only my job, I actually care. Because I want every child I teach to be successful, and the only ways I know how to get parents on board is to actually communicate with them.
And the thing is,
that's it. Like, communicate.
And the thing is, even sometimes when you communicate with